sports fans and internet bantersauruses, welcome back to Banter with the Boys. Live for the first time on YouTube with me, your host, comedian, and former World of First 15 Bong Squad member, Nik Rabinowitz. Oh me, oh my guys, do we have an incredible episode for you today with some very special guests and including, for the very first time, our first live studio audience. Let's hear it from the Troyeville Hotel. I am joined, as always, by my guiding light, my North Star, the center of my universe. No, it's not my lover, it's my work wife, former Springbok captain, Jean de Villiers, everybody! And not the Jean de Villiers at table number 19. I don't know if that Jean de Villiers is with us yet. He's still on his way. How are you, Jean?
I'm good, thank you, Nick. It's so fantastic to be with you again.
It is always very pleasurable.
Yes.
We're going to kick things off with our sporting monologue, highlights of the world of sport this week. Let's kick things off with Grand Prix. I don't know if you watched the Netherlands Grand Prix, Jean, but Dutchman Max Verstappen coming second to Lando Norris, which makes sense because the Dutch tourist industry always lets their visitors come first. In football news, it's late. Some people only get that via satellite. In football news, it's late August transfer madness in the Premier League. South African striker Lyle Foster seems to be on his way to Premier League relegation contenders Ipswich Town, which is a good place for South Africans, Ipswich Town, because their nickname, do you know their nickname? The Tractor Boys, which sounds like an Afrikaans alt rock band from Welkom. Lyle in the Trekker Seuns. From now on, if Ipswich miraculously lead the table, Jean, they'll be called the Voortrekkers, and if they get relegated, they'll be labeled the Draadtrekkers. Now, in athletics news, Minister of Sport Gayton McKenzie this week referred to Bayanda Walaza as the fastest teenager on planet Earth after the 18-year-old stormed to a gold medal in the 100 meters final at the World Athletics Under-20 Championships in Peru. Gayton McKenzie obviously has never been to Modderfontein Road in Kempton Park at 3 a.m. on a Saturday to witness 17-year-old Willem Villa put his Opel Kadett through its paces. In rugby news, it's the big game today. Springboks, All Blacks. 8-man Jasper Wiese makes his return at that position. It's been a bit of a tussle, a four-way battle between Elrich, Jasper, Evenroos and Kwagga, which actually makes it a six-way battle. And Jasper looks like the most likely successor, Jean, due to the Springboks' new quota rules. Not the old quota rules. Apparently, Rassie has established an unofficial quota stating that at least 5 of the 8 forwards on the field must look like they are qualified to be bouncers at the Doornfontein Hotel. Now, of course, did you watch the MMA fight? Dricus du Plessis
Of course I did.
smashing Israel Adesanya in what was called a face crank submission. Dricus, of course, walked out in a patriotic blaze of glory, flanked by his bouncers, Eben Etzebeth and Siya Kolisi, wasn't it?
It was beautiful.
A wonderful moment. Dricus is going to return the favor today, apparently, at the stadium. He's going to be waiting at the tunnel where he'll be giving each Springbok a kiss on the mouth for good luck as they run out to face the haka, because it's the Afrikaans way. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for our special guest today, kicking off with a man who's been making the front and back pages of newspaper headlines since his Jeppe High School playing days. 31 Springbok caps under 5 coaches, all of whom he hated. A key member of the 98 box squad that did the double over in New Zealand, winning the Tri-Nations. 2-time Currie Cup winner, Super 12 player of the tournament 2001. One of the most iconic Springbok players in history. The man who recently named his dog Futsak and asks to sit in the front of the police van because he suffers from motion sickness. He was never the biggest hooker, but he certainly knew her. No, it's not James Dalton, James Marshall's bodyguard. It's Jiu-Jitsu purple belt, best-selling author, and 95 World Cup winner, James the Bullet Dalton!
Thank you, John.
And our second guest
By the way, you must get your stats right.
I'll get them right shortly, James.
Yeah,
welcome, welcome.
Or you might land up in a jiu-jitsu grip.
I don't want to do that. Our second guest has just arrived all the way from New Zealand, ladies and gentlemen, so he's about ready for bed. He's an outspoken Kiwi rugby pundit. He's not afraid to call a spade and then defend that spade with another spade. His accolades include 81 test caps, most tries by an All Black scrum half, 4-time Bledisloe Cup champion, 5-time All Black test captain, 5-time Super Rugby winner, 5-time Tri-Nations winner, 2-time World Cup bronze winner. Hi Shem. 75% win record for the All Blacks, Crusaders Hall of Famer, member of the New Zealand Order of Merit, Gore High School's greatest export since Member of Parliament for Invercargill, Penny Simmons. That's a joke for the one All Black supporter here today. Highest rated All Black number 9, 8th best scrum half in history. Give it up for a man who got called arrogant in the press only yesterday, all the way from the land of the long white cloud. It is All Black number 948, Justin, the champ, Marshall. Welcome. Lovely to have you here. Justin, James, what a pleasure to have you guys joining Jean, James and Justin, my very own JJJ. You're one letter away from me having to ask my rabbi to airlift me out of here. That is a joke about the KKK for this young man over here. May I just say that all three of you look magnificent, in wonderful shape, especially the post-50 guys over here. James Dalton looking especially radiant, don't you think? Look at this man.
I had to shave.
Shining, not just because of the lights.
Shave, so I look like a newborn baby today for you guys.
You are looking great, even though you have one foot in the grave, as you like to say. I want to talk a little bit about early inspirations. James, you first came to this place how long ago? 50, 60 years ago, you were brought here.
Well, I went to JP Boys around the corner, so during lunch break I used to come out for lunch and a beer.
Was that in primary school?
But you were...
Well, look, if it was nursery school, I would have had to come in my pram or my wheeler.
I believe your godfather actually did bring you here in your pram as a very young man. Tell us about the impact of having a godfather who was a judo champion.
Yeah, so my godfather was, his name was Dougie Baggett, and he was 2 times Western World Judo Champion. So that's where I also started my liking for the martial arts, and currently doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I've got my purple belt in that, and hopefully to achieve my black belt, which will be my Springbok colours again.
There we go. Yeah. And of course, you were also a Springbok or was a Transvaal amateur boxer back in the day, is that correct?
Stop prodding the bear, my friend.
Justin, just to explain, amateur boxing in south of Joburg back then was where you punched the kid down the street for jolling with your sister. But Justin, you actually have 3 relatives who played All Black rugby. One of them was your Uncle Jack, who played in the 1937 Test Series against the Springboks, which they lost. They actually lost this game. John de Villiers, do you know about this?
About the 1937 game?
Yeah, the 1937 series, captained by Phil Nell, and they lost the last game thanks to Louis Babro, an observant Jew who scored 2 tries on Yom Kippur, the holiest day in the Jewish calendar. And from then on, Nik Rabinowitz said you needed 1 lucky Jew and a policeman in the Springbok team. And actually, thankfully, we got Sasha Feinberg, Ngome Zulu. Now, he's actually technically a half-black Jew. But, Justin, do you think if New Zealand had an all-black Jew, you'd have a better chance against us today?
I think that's a very loaded question, first and foremost, but I think we need all the luck we can get. But no, I don't think that would have an influence, to be perfectly honest.
Honestly, I'm
That's a
not
good
buying
answer.
that underdog thing again.
You're not, no?
That underdog thing you're doing again there, I'm not buying it.
Well, it was obviously perceived as arrogance somewhere after the intro that I got, so we'll see how that plays out.
What is the impact of having 2 uncles and a cousin growing up who've played for the All Blacks? Does it just occur as that's possible for me too?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Like, you don't really sort of think of family dynamics. You obviously hear and know about your history, but actually my cousin I played with, Daryl Gibson, so yeah, that was kind of quite unique to have two, I guess, family relatives in the same team. But I think rugby in general is scattered with lots of siblings that play, you know, like quite a lot of them within the All Black ranks. You know, you had the Ioane brothers just recently. You've obviously got the Barretts, there's quite a few of them, the Whitelocks, and then you go back to the Brooks and that. So
The Majors.
it's not that unique. The Majors, yeah, they're there scattered across our history. So look, I've had obviously a little bit of history, but nothing like some of the more recent ones.
So
Yeah.
would you think your DNA pulled through stronger than the rest of them?
I think luck did, James, more than anything. But, yeah, it was quite unique to be able to have that history more explained to you once you actually make the All Blacks.
Yeah,
Then
sure.
you kind of recognise it more. But just to kind of, there's one thing I want to do before we continue with this show, which I'm really enjoying already. Just want to settle something because I've been told that I don't let go of a grudge very often, and I just need to ask you, James, in 1998, when you scored that try against us, did you actually get the ball down? I want you to be honest, mate, because I tell you what, mate, I was standing right there, and I have my opinion on
Okay,
it.
what happened to the scoreboard? Did it tick over?
It certainly did. It certainly did.
Scored and all.
It's written down, eh? Yeah, fair enough.
We
You
settled
gotta
that.
own it, you gotta
That's
own it.
wonderful. But speaking of family members, Jean de Villiers, did you play with any of your cousins growing up?
Yeah, all of them.
That's wonderful.
I played with my brother. I played a lot. No, I played rugby with my brother. We played, we only a year apart. So we played for first team at school, Western Province Craven Week, and then South Africa under 19 together, which was pretty special. But then he was in a car accident and hurt his shoulder. He was a prop, tighted
Yeah.
prop. Hurt his shoulder, neck, and whatever, and kind of couldn't play after that. But,
Speaking
a
of-
special play, you know, being able
It is special.
to play sports with your family members.
Look, since you brought up the car accident, let's discuss Bobby Skinstad, because were you or were you not in the car when Bobby allegedly injured his knee in, was it 1999?
Yeah.
No,
Nice.
2002.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
2002.
because he was struggling to get back for the World Cup, wasn't
Yeah,
he?
that's right.
No,
Well, he was. I know one
Was he
thing.
struggling to get into the car? as
He was
well?
in the car.
He was in the
I
car.
was not in the car.
You were not in the
No.
car.
But
No.
then he struggled to get out of the car.
Yes, he did struggle to get out of the car
and
later
that
on.
still remains.
Yeah.
But there was an argument prior to the accident between you and him about who was better, the Stormers or the Crusaders. Was that how it began?
No, not at all. It was all around who could drink brandy and coke the fastest.
Oh, I see. Okay, well,
And so then he obviously got beaten by me
right.
and left in a little bit of a huff.
I see. But we actually want to settle the score on that. We actually want James Dalton to step in.
Oh my God! I thought you were going to ring him then. We'll get this story straight. I'll be like, oh my God! I
James
just
Dalton,
lied.
apparently you know the real version of the story. Is that true?
Allegedly.
Allegedly, what actually happened, and I don't want to mention any names, but Mikey Schultz was involved.
No, James, don't say that.
But let's talk about 1995. You made your debut, is that correct? 95. You didn't get to play in that World Cup.
No.
James Dalton, of course, you played 2 games in that World Cup, and of course, then something happened against Canada. Now that game started with a power failure, which obviously didn't bother the South Africans at all. They just turned on their phone torches and proceeded with the game. But run us through the fighting, because according to Wikipedia, it's widely reported that you took part in a fight which led you to missing the remainder of that World Cup. But according to
Okay, now,
Wikipedia,
whoa,
hold on,
whoa,
wait,
whoa,
let me finish.
whoa.
But the TV footage shows that Dalton was trying to stop the fight and calm down the situation. Did you write that yourself?
Okay, first of all, you cannot calm something down that's out of control.
Right.
Let's just begin there.
Yes.
Okay.
You're talking about yourself now.
The law interpretation is foul play constitutes kicking, hitting, swearing at a referee, biting, spitting. Was there any one of those 5?
Not according to Wikipedia.
Well, Wikipedia needs to update this.
Well, it also says citation needed. But
I'm actually going to sue the IRB after this.
speaking of red cards, I don't think either of you ever received a red card, but you once gave yourself a yellow card and voluntarily walked off the field. Is that true?
Yeah, well, yeah, I called the referee's bluff at the time, which was my great friend Andre Watson, and yeah, he basically motioned me to come to him because I got upset and said quite a few nasty words to him about his refereeing on the day, and he pulled me aside and he said, Scrummy, come here. And I saw him go like you were going for your phone in your pocket before. I'm very much a person that recognises certain movements, and I saw him sort of go like this, and I thought, well, he's going to give me a yellow at least and possibly a red, so I just went, you know what, I've had enough of you today anyway, and we're not going to win, so I just walked off. And then, ironically, everybody was quite bamboozled by that and thought, where is he going, what's he doing? And my captain and that my opposition halfback at the time, George Gregan, both looked at me and started saying, Marshy, where are you going? Where are you going? I said, I've had enough of him. We're not going to win. It's not fair. I don't want to play anymore. And they said, no, you need to come back. This doesn't look good. So by the time this all happened and I came back to him, I think he had kind of like thought, this is weird, and forgot about yellow carding me, and he just gave me a telling off, and I got to play the last 5 minutes. So I didn't actually yellow card myself. I actually called his bluff and then actually made him rethink what his original decision was going to be. So I psychologically
This is a good strategy for the young players.
Send yourself off.
Yeah. Let's talk about the era you guys all came from, which unfortunately, unlike players of today, you still have to make a living post-rugby. And like Jean de Villiers, it's rumoured, Justin Marshall, that you also don't like to say no to a good sponsor.
A good handout.
Yeah. And I wondered, have you ever been approached by that decking company in New Zealand that have those wonderful ads? And if so, could Jean de Villiers, Jean, have you seen that ad?
I have not.
Yeah. Could Jean de Villiers do their South African franchise by saying things like, hi, I'm Jean de Villiers and my dick is just as big as Justin Marshall's? Or you don't think so? Okay, that's fine. You've come all the way for this. We appreciate you coming out here from, just correct me on my pronunciation, Aotearoa, is that correct?
That was perfect.
The land of the long white cloud. That's what it is in Maori, James. It's white cloud, not white powder. Over the course of your career, you turned it into land of the long white scrum half for your above average scrum half height. I don't have a question about that really, but
you don't. No, well, to be fair, that was the land of the giants when that era that I played in, when it came to scrum halves, because obviously, you know, as you all know, the great man Jos van der Westhuizen was taller than me at the time. George Gregan was a little bit unique, but Rob Howley was as tall. Mike Phillips was taller. So it was kind of like a trend around that time that halfbacks weren't as kind of small and nippy as what they are nowadays. So yeah, I don't think I was like standing out above everybody else as being large.
Are you 5'10" or 11?
Well, considering when I played that I'm now getting older and I'm shrinking, I'll say I was 5'11".
Because that's always bothered me, that extra inch. I'm not saying.
I know, you must get it all the time.
Talk to us. You mentioned a couple of rivalries in there, Georgie Gregan and Uist. Tell us about those two in particular.
Well, to get technical about it, like obviously George Gregan, 139 tests I think it was for Australia, and an impeccable record, probably refereed every single one of those 139 test matches as well. But I've always said that the difference between him and Uist was that George Gregan was consistent across those test matches. You got out of him exactly what you'd expect on the day. Competitive, always very good at his skill set, and just wanted to win. And he always performed at a certain level. Uist, on the other hand, had the ability to fluctuate a little bit. You know, he could be up and then he could drop away, and a couple of things would affect his game. but when he did something in the game to affect the game, it was of world-class quality, and it would literally turn the game. The thing with Just was he could play horribly for 75 minutes, and then he could do something in 5 minutes that completely changed the game and won the game for South Africa. It was, when I described him, they say, name your greatest adversary as a scrum half. I say Just van der Westhuizen was not the greatest scrum half in the world. At the time, when he was on, he was the greatest rugby player in the world because of how he could influence the game, for sure. And it was an absolute pleasure to play against him. I'll tell you one very brief story. We recognised how dangerous he was, and at the time I got told by my coach, John Hart, when I'm defending him, I would usually defend quite flat, just in behind the ruck, and then you could tackle a front rower who hasn't got any momentum up if they broke the first line. They said in this particular game, because of Just outstanding quality, you need to go just a little bit deeper, because at some stage he's going to pick on someone, he's going to make a line break, and then if you're too flat, we're in big trouble. So I was like, righto, so I sweated on it all day, and I stood a bit deeper, and just was having his game, and then he did it. He made this break, beat a player on the outside, went through, and I was deeper. So there it was, the plan had worked genius. He came, he looked at me with those nice, beautiful green eyes. I thought, wow, you got nice eyes. And I had him lined up, and I got both shoulders ready, and here comes Just. I've got him cleaned up, there's nowhere for him to go, just about to launch at him, and I'm waiting for the roar, because it was here in Loftus Stadium in Pretoria, for the crowd to go, ooh, when I cream him into the ground. Just about to launch forward, and he just pivots to his left and chips the ball over my head, and I go, oh, cuck, that's gone over my head. I watch Just go flying past in all his glory. His beautiful green eyes have a little look at me. The ball bounces twice into his lap, bang, and he scores. So that's the type of player that I found impossible to defend.
But Marcy, I think also with Just, like you said, his skill set probably as a 9 is not right up there with the very best ever, but his ability to score tries.
Oh.
I mean, his record of scoring tries as a 9,
yeah.
you know, because you don't have that much space, and you've got a pretty good try scoring record as well. But I mean, Just was just exceptional in terms of as an individual rugby player, not to box him in a position, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Marsha, you've been credited with a few great catchphrases in your time, including yes boy, mia moi, and boomfa. They're now part of New Zealand pop culture, I believe. Could you drop them all into one sentence that makes sense to James Dalton?
No, possibly not. Like, I know that if you look up boomfa in the dictionary, you will not find it, that's for sure. So it's not a word, it doesn't exist. Okay. Even in a New Zealand dictionary.
How would we just use
I've already been out there.
The yes boy just sort of came off the back of the oh me oh my, because I was having a moment where I was doing the commentary and there's an outstanding piece of play and I went oh my, and then I thought, oh, am I literally allowed to say like a religious word on TV? Am I allowed to say God? You know, because it might upset a few people. So yes. I went, oh my, me oh my, like that, and it just sort of flowed out of my mouth in an unstructured way, which people kind of picked up on. So yeah, it's not as so much genius sort of commentary from me, it's more me halfway mid-sentence thinking, I could say a word in here that would not be very good, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, and I've manufactured my way through it somehow. And then I just threw yes boy in at the finish, just in case people had picked up on a mumbo jumbo load of nonsense.
How could we use boomfa in a sentence?
Well, you could use it today, I guess, when say Ep1 makes a massive line break.
Yeah.
And the big figure of Damien McKenzie comes across and absolutely flattens him to the ground. And you just go, boomfa!
Okay, that's good.
That's very, 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 very unlikely to happen. I saw Ep1 coming out of the lift today with his young family, and he was holding this baby. And I thought to myself, that is either Ep1 being an absolute giant or the smallest baby I've seen before in my life.
Is that for you, James?
Just for you, James.
You go, you're on your way. Everybody relax.
Sorry.
Listen, I have to say I've seen the inside of a jail cell a few times, and that was just for inspection.
Justin, you know, you were also known for your rugged good looks. Dan Carter, of course, became the first All Black real proper pin-up. But did you ever think when Lord of the Rings was shooting in New Zealand, did anyone ever ask you to audition for the role of, say, Aragorn or like a fuck off Hobbit?
Oh, I knew the Hobbit bit was coming.
A giant Hobbit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, it could be the big Hobbit.
We got 5 minutes before you actually have to go to the game. It's now 4 minutes.
There's nothing I'm being paid for, believe me. I'm here out of the love of the game.
As James just mentioned, let's talk about the underworld for a moment. We'll come back to James's underworld, but have you ever found yourself involved in the New Zealand underworld? For example, ever had a run-in with the cops for something like littering? Because that turns Kiwi heads.
Yeah, I've had a couple of run-ins in my youth with the law, which we all learn from, don't we? And I can't say that my slate is clean. I'm just a little bit worried. Is there anyone in this at all establishment that has anything to do with customs at the airport? That's great, because I always say that I don't have any criminal history, but that's actually a lie. So the fact that it would get picked up if I told a story now, then that would be a bit of a worry, because I do actually eventually, even though I love this country, and I do actually want to go home at some stage.
Marshy, have you ever had any trouble with the law in South Africa or not?
Never.
Because this is like the weirdest coincidence ever. I take my car to get new tires.
Yep.
And this random guy stands next to me and he said, "No, I want to show you a video." And there you are, he shows me a video probably 20 years ago, doing the haka in a like a police office or whatever. Like the cop standing there, it must have been pretty late at night.
Hang on.
Yeah, you know, so you're not in the cell or anything like that. No, the most random. So I'm just asking. So obviously you didn't do anything, but just a mate of yours.
That's why they were writing you up still.
There's only two things that spring to mind about that, because I don't recall it. The first thing is Jägermeister.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I think about. And then the second one is, very often I've been mistaken for Jimmy Cowan.
Yes.
So are you sure that wasn't Jimmy Cowan?
100% you.
Okay.
No, but shit, it must have been. You showed me the video, it was still so pixelated because it's like 25 years ago.
Shirt on or shirt off?
Shirt, I can't remember.
Wow, see, very scared. If you're in a court of law.
No, I don't know.
What do you recall, Mr. De
That's
Villiers?
why I'm asking, Marshy. You know, 'cause
Yeah.
we spent so much time in France last year, and I know that you're such a good citizen.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
All I do know, Jean, is that it would have to have been if it was me, it would have to be a very, very desperate situation for me to pull the haka out.
Yeah.
Because as you can see, I'm probably not the most fearsome guy to do the haka, so if I was doing it, it would have been out of pure desperation.
Let's talk more about poor life choices in your early 20s. Now, James, back in the 90s, there was a lot of recreational drug usage in the Springbok setup, and it's revealed in your book, actually, Bulletproof, as well as Russie's book. And which drugs did the players in the late 90s do the most? My money's on cocaine and MDMA. With everyone turning to spiritually motivated magic mushroom journeys in the post-Joe van Niekerk era, do you think rugby nowadays is suffering from the lack of recreational drug use? There are no more characters in the game.
Recreational, you call them.
You don't have to answer that. But I do know that certain players would arrive at Ellis Park straight from the club. I don't want to mention any names, Rashi. But before you go, Justin, let's talk a bit about the actual game that is happening today. Thoughts, predictions, evaluations, analysis, deep insights.
Well, to give those, I'm also looking at the amazing amount of green jerseys out there, and I do want to get
Do you
out of
want to
this
say
place
anything
alive.
to that one man over there?
Yeah, there
in
we
a
go.
black jersey?
You'll always find one somewhere. You know what I mean?
You'll never
Like-
walk alone.
We travelled from Auckland to be
Yeah,
here today.
there you go,
Yeah.
perfect. Like they do say that anywhere you go in the world, if you give a tussock a good kick, someone from New Zealand will fall out of it, for sure. So it's good that we've got our one supporter here to drown you all out this afternoon. Hey, look, there's been a lot said about the Test match this weekend. Ellis Park to me is the ultimate place to come and play any rugby game, let alone play the Springboks on what I believe is your home stadium. I know that one thing is that within the All Black camp, that they will see this as an opportunity, and they will not be, I guess, complacent because of the history here, the way that the Springboks play here. So, look, there's plenty of dynamics to play out in the game, and lots to be spoken about. But what I hope we do get is an entertaining spectacle that I don't doubt that both teams are going to go at it as much as they possibly can. Everything to gain for both of them. It's been a while since you guys had the Freedom Cup. That's one thing that I can throw at you that we've held on to for quite a while. So we don't have the World Cup, but you do. So I think I know which one I'd prefer. But yeah, for me, I think probably the one person that I would say if he plays well, the All Blacks have got a real chance of winning is Damien McKenzie. If he gets spooked by defence and doesn't control the game in the right areas of the game today, it'll affect the entire game plan and the rest of the team. So if he can play well in that first 10-15 minutes and be in the game, then it's going to go right down to the 80th minute, I'm sure. I know that's an old cliche, but shit me, it's the Springboks and the All Blacks at Ellis Park. It's going to be dramatic, it's going to be tight, it's going to be a contest, physical, fast, and yeah, one to really look forward to. Yeah.
Hashtag Bufia.
Boomfa.
Boomfa, sorry.
I told you it's not a word.
Justin Marshall, thank you for your service to
It's
the
been
game
a
of
pleasure.
rugby. Ladies and gentlemen,
Thank
one of
you,
the all-time
everyone.
greats, Justin Marshall.
Thanks, mate. Thanks.
Thank you, Justin.
Good to see you, brother. Take it easy.
We are going to continue with our South African contingent. James Dalton, we were talking about rivalries. Let's talk about your great rivalry with Sean Fitzpatrick. Was he one of the favourite oaks you punched in the scrum? Were there others?
Well, look, I was very privileged and blessed during my early playing days. I mean, my generation of hookers was Sean Fitzpatrick, Phil Kearns, Frederico Mendes, Keith Woods, and myself. So you know, you can't get
John Dobson?
better. No. John used to just shine our heads. So guys, for me it was, you know, at any stage, any one of us was number one or number two in the world, and you know, I was only able to raise my game because I was playing against quality players. It would have been very different if they were shit. I would just remain an average hooker, and that was not the case. So I was blessed at the same time. In terms of with Fitzpatrick, we all know what everybody thinks of him. He was immensely annoying, immensely manipulating, but he was as tough as he was. He could take it and he could give it equally, and he would not moan. But yeah, great hard rugby player.
It's funny you mention Keith Wood, because also I think a brilliant player in his day, and I actually met up with him last week because he was in South Africa. His son was playing for the Ireland under 18s at fly-off.
Oh wow.
There's a fly-off, yeah. So it's the beauty about the game as well. You play it hard, you play it tough, but it comes back and you make friends off the field, and that's what I love about the game, you know. And all those names that he mentioned, world-class players, like you said, is that competitiveness that actually made the players better over time as well.
I want to talk about your early days at Jeppe. This is, of course, where your amateur boxing career really flourished. In particular, a game against Athlone High, where you were sent off for punching and then, I think, banned from the next game by the headmaster. And I just found this online as a post this year actually on schoolboyrugby.co.za, which talks about the famous rivalry between Jeppe and Kes, and you've been banned from that game because of what happened against Athlone. And then one commenter recalled a time, this is a comment on this post, who says his history teacher was teaching a class about the American Revolution and resistance from the workers, and used the James Dalton sit-in story as an example. How does it feel, James Dalton, to be a struggle hero? And I know it's a bit awkward that it's a separate and some might say less important struggle that you were involved in, the struggle for you to play against Kes. But tell us about
Okay,
that.
well, you know, it's a little bit more simple. I don't know if you guys know of a brown envelope and a backhand. Okay, so my headmaster was given that by the Kes headmaster.
Whoa!
So I wouldn't play and they'd win. But here's the irony, and here's the sweet part of it, that when I came back and played the second game at Kes, who won? Jeppe won. Who scored? James Dalton scored.
Come on!
So, but yeah, you know what? I mean, I never had a relationship with my headmaster.
Well, I wouldn't want to have a relationship with mine either.
It got so bad that when I did go there for Jacks, you know, like cane him,
Yeah.
he eventually asked me to cane him because he said, I cannot eat you anymore. It's enough now.
You know, James, I was raised by nudists. So I don't know if you ever got taken to the Kruger Park to see the bush, but I was taken to Sandy Bay to see the bush a lot in the late 1970s. And there was a lot of bush to be seen back then, kids. And one time I was there, we were on a hike. And actually, Matt Ellenbogen over there, we had the same headmaster, so he can attest to the story. I was fully clothed going on a hike at Sandy Bay, Jean de Villiers, and my headmaster walked off the beach wearing nothing but his floppy, okay? Yeah, I don't want to be in a relationship with him either. James Dalton, let's talk about mental health. I want to talk a bit about My Safe Space, which is an amazing project you've launched. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so guys, look, I went through a patch of also suffering a bit of depression and working on my mental health and wellness. And
can I just ask, is there a stigma in rugby circles? Certainly there was in
no, there's
your day.
there's generally a stigma, you know. Men are providers, men can't show weakness, but it's real, it does exist. And if more men are able to come out and speak about it and not named or shamed, then that's where we need to go. If James Dalton can have experienced and gone through it, then anybody can. And you know what, guys, I say, it's okay not to be okay. There's no shame in that. I can sit here and say that I've learned a lot of lessons. I keep learning. Hold
on a second.
I've started.
I know you guys are having a personal celebration there, but we are working.
But
Thank
can you shut the fuck up?
That's what I was thinking, but I needed you to say it.
So I started an initiative called My Safe Space. I'm trying to implement a minimum safety and security standard within all the schools. I do believe our kids are under attack at school, especially with bullying. We need a minimum standard to ensure that our learners are protected, that there is accountability from the school, and that ultimately we can have better learner outcomes for all. So that is the cause. And ironically enough, I sat with the city of Cape Town, and everyone had an answer as they normally do, because they are called politicians. So I said to them, right guys, I've got a document here that's got a solution. And I said, what have you got? And they looked at me and they said, nothing. I said, well, here's the solution. And guess what? Still nothing has happened. So, you know what? I will drive this initiative. It's part of a non-profit organization, and I want our kids to be looked after. feel safe and be protected.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Jordan Hill-Lewis, if you're listening to that, meet James Dalton on the jiu-jitsu mat on Monday morning in Bloberg.
Gordon Hill-Lewis, I'll see you Monday, 5 o'clock, my
There we go.
Don't be late.
I want to get a little bit more into the stigma around depression, anxiety. It's not easy to share this with men, especially in a professional sport context. I've shared with my toxic masculine friends that, hey, I'm depressed and anxious, and they just say, but are you busy, eh? You're busy. You're busy. That's the main thing, you've got to stay busy. How did you guys deal with going through spaces like that when you were younger, playing professional sport? How did you deal with mental health challenges?
Well, I think it came...
Positively or negatively?
It came more into my life when I stopped playing rugby. You got to remember, when I'm playing rugby, I'm wearing 2 masks or 2 hats. So at home, I'm gentle, I'm tender.
A kitten.
Yeah, a kitten.
A kitten.
And then when I leave the house, I've got to live up to that public persona and that public personality. And my missus actually said to me the one day, you know, James, when you walk out the house, you have a cockatiel walk. So I actually walk differently, like a, you know, like a bird, a cockatiel. But listen, guys, it's real. Admit it. Go ask for help. You'll be surprised how many people will help. You'll be surprised how many people will listen. But in closing, so when I stopped playing rugby, I basically lost my identity. So I was first James Dalton, the rugby player. Then I stopped, then I was just James. I had nowhere to go, I had no direction, I had to pay for my own tickets, I didn't have to book my flights, I didn't have to go to the embassy. Now all of a sudden I'm 35, I've retired, and I've got nothing. I had 10,000 hours on the rugby field, I've got 0 hours around the boardroom table. And guys, trust me, it gets hard and it gets dark and the lights go out. Whichever way you want to look at it, it is a massive challenge for everybody. The fame and the glory that is posted out there is momentarily. Afterwards, the suffering is where we lose people, we lose friends, and people take their lives. Thank you.
I think it's. I think people are way more open about it these days, especially after COVID. I think because a lot of people went through depression, and I think finding your purpose post a professional rugby career is difficult. And I think most guys go through the same as what James just mentioned. So the fact that there are more organisations that can help with it, and the fact that more people are talking about it, whether in a professional sporting space or other space, makes it easier, but it's very much a reality of life. They actually did a study on the norm in terms of South Africa, the norm versus retired rugby players and cricket players. And in terms of depression, divorce and suicide, you know, it's just so much higher on the retired rugby and cricket players. So it is a reality because everything changes that day that you retire. But like I said, the fact that there are actually organisations that can help and systems that can assist with it, hopefully we won't hear those bad stories, or far less of it rather.
James, you mentioned the masks. You're a kitten at home and you walk out the house like a cockatiel. Jean de Villiers, what 2 animals best describe you?
I haven't given that a lot of thought.
Amphibian.
Yeah. I would say cat for you.
Cat?
Yeah, cat.
Okay, thank you.
That's not the cat you put up your nose.
Not my mother's cat.
Yeah.
Don't bring yours into this. Thank you very much. Anything else you guys want to say about today's game? Ellis Park, this massive rivalry between the Boks and the All Blacks. Predictions for the game?
I'm going for a South African win, like I think most of the people here will be going with.
By how many?
I'm going South Africa by 4.
Yeah.
I think that we've got a really strong team. It is a bit of a concern in terms of our locks and the amount of locks that we have lost. So the rejigging of the pack, is the only concern that I can really see. But then again, if you go through that pack, the experience that we have in the front three, Peter Steph de Toy now moving to lock. He's just an incredible player, world-class player. Ruan Norkia coming in, massive workhorse, and Ben Jason Dixon replacing Peter Steph on the flank, same thing. So we've got a team that can really go the 80. If it's an expansive game, high-tempo game, we've got a team that can really do that. Plus, I think the fact that our defensive system have not lost a beat, since Schalk left, and our attacking play under Tony Brown is now, so unpredictable. We've got so much more facets to our play. Attack the wide channels, you can attack close, you can go back to our set phases, which is still very strong. So it's a good South African team, but the fact that we're playing the All Blacks, that always makes us nervous.
James Dalton, if you were on the SuperSport panel today, what would you be saying about the game?
Well, I think Jean said it all. No, well, look, guys, if you look, both teams have played, I think, 15 times against each other at Ellis Park. We've won 9, they've won 6.
Have both teams
Yo,
played
you've done your
15
research, eh?
Yeah, so,
Have both teams played 15 times against each other?
yeah. So, based on Jean's correction, so please take his point. So, you know what? The rivalries against the two countries, we know, is immense and massive. It's going to be marginal. It's going to be the team that makes the least amount of errors. It's going to be the team that capitalizes on the other one's mistakes and turns those into points. In terms of our forwards, there are too many changes. They're not as impressive and in your face. The bomb squad is not really there off the bench. So it's not going to be that big a threat for the All Blacks. The All Blacks obviously have a bitter pill in their mouth by losing by 1 point and obviously 14 players. But guys, it's going to be the clash of the Titans. I do believe the Springboks, in terms of winning back-to-back World Cups are great. But if you still look at the All Blacks, generally throughout a year, their win percentage is better than ours. And provided we don't make enough errors where they get kickable opportunities to get on the scoreboard, I will go with South Africa on a small margin by 7 to 9 points.
Wonderful. Thank you for those insights.
It's a pleasure.
I actually was really looking forward. We're going to be watching the game together, and we were really looking forward to a night on the town with James Dalton. But I'm disappointed to hear. Well, I'm actually not. I'm actually relieved to hear you've been clean and sober for 9 months.
Yeah, no, I haven't had a drink for 9 months. And that's because drinking sucks for me.
Have you?
But hang on,
Yeah.
if you want to, I can still bring the underworld for you.
That's okay. That's really fine.
On that note,
And if you need to connect with James about mental health or dealing or contributing to my safe space, or perhaps we can get Joe van Niekerk involved and do some magic mushroom journeys together in Costa Rica. Who knows? Anything is possible.
Well, look, it might start floating with my emblem.
I wanted to just ask for some advice from my cousin's an amateur boxer from Sea Point. He's going to the Jewish Olympics later this year. He was at the last one. They announced him. I'll never forget it. I was like one of his bodyguards. I walked him in and they were like, in the blue corner, world heavyweight champion of Sea Point, Jared Mofsovitz. And then his mom had actually stalked him to the gates. And she ran in shouting, Jared, throw in the towel immediately. This is bullshit. You're supposed to go into finance. Any advice for him?
Just keep your hands up, and for your opponent, hit the body and the head will go.
That's what Brian Mitchell said, ladies and gentlemen. He also said, thank you, Jesus, which they don't say at the Jewish Olympics. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for James Dalton, my co-host, Jean de Villiers.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you for joining us for Banter with the boys, live from the Troyeville Hotel. Give it up for the Troyeville Hotel. Yay! Peace out.